Through your worship, we're live.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Clerk, and good morning, everybody, and welcome to Council. I think this is the first non-sunny day we've had in many meetings now, but it's always a sunny day on Wasaga Beach. We'll call this meeting to order, and I'll look to Councillor DeLeo for a land acknowledgement. Councillor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone. The town of Wasaga Beach acknowledges it is located upon the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people of the Three Fires Confederacy. We also acknowledge that the people of the Wyandot Nation also inhabited these lands. We acknowledge that these nations were sovereign nations existing before the arrival of settlers. We respect the spiritual interconnection among these nations to the land and to the water. We also acknowledge that waterways near us have a long history predating European arrival. Since time immemorial, waterways were the lifeblood of the Indigenous people by trade and hunting routes. We are dedicated to inclusivity of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people in our future stewardship of the land and the longest freshwater beach in the world. In the spirit of reconciliation, we welcome the opportunity of learning to be sustainable caretakers of the land and waterways for all future generations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Megwich, and we'll now move on to item number 1.2 on the agenda, which is a real special piece of our agenda today, 911 Youth Recognition Award for Mr. Silas King. And I'm going to look to our Fire Chief, Craig McWilliams, to provide council and staff with some public introduction and a summary of the actions that was taken by Silas surrounding the events that occurred in 2024. And there he is. Good morning, Silas. Chief, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning, members of council. I'm honored to help recognize a remarkable young member of our community, Silas King, who was recently recognized with a 911 Youth Award during the Simcoe County Tri-Service Public Safety Awards ceremony that was held on October the 10th. As you can see in the photo in front of you, Silas had the opportunity to be recognized by Simcoe County Warden Basil Clark, MPP Brian Saunderson, and our Deputy Mayor Tanya Snell. On the morning of February 2nd, 2024, Silas demonstrated bravery, calmness, and responsibility during a critical moment. When a family member experienced a sudden and serious medical emergency and was unable to call for help, Silas took action. At the age of 6, he navigated his mother's phone, he dialed 911, and he provided dispatch with clear, specific details about the emergency. But his efforts didn't stop there. Silas unlocked all the doors and he helped first responders locate the entrance to his home, an entrance that, due to the building's layout, was on a different street than the listed address. His quick thinking and accurate information saved precious minutes, allowing first responders to reach his family member without delay. We often say that emergency response is a team sport. It relies on coordination, communication, and trust, not just among first responders, but with the community that we serve. On that day, Silas was a vital part of our team. His actions exemplify what it means to be a community hero. We couldn't be more proud of Silas and are thrilled to introduce him to you as our 911 youth hero. On behalf of the Wasaga Beach Fire Department and all of town staff, thank you, Silas, for your courage and your contribution to keeping our community safe. And I believe he would actually like to say something to members of council.
Thank you, Chief. Good morning, Silas.
I would say so why did I do that? Because she had a really seizure, because if I wouldn't do that, she would be really in danger, so I had to do it to save her life, for being safe.
You're absolutely right, Silas, and you are one of the bravest young men I have ever met or seen in my life, and I can't tell you how proud not just the fire department and your friends are, but your whole community, the whole town of Wasaga Beach, how very proud we are of you. You're a special member of our community, and we can't celebrate you more. So brave on you, and to be able to, as you said, Chief, to let first responders know that not only at 6 years old did he know his address, did he know how to navigate mom's phone in order to get 911 and to get first responders there quickly, but then to have the forethought at 6 years old to be able to say, you can't come into my house from Mosley Street where the address is, you have to go to Old Mosley Street and come in from the back. That is just remarkable. And so good on you, Silas, and good on Mom, for making sure that you had and knew what to do when it was needed. So you are truly a hometown hero, and we're very proud of you. Come on around, we've got something here for Silas. So we've got a little gift bag here for you, Silas. We've got a certificate here for you, Silas, that says the Corporation of the Town of Wasaga Beach conveys sincere congratulations and good wishes to Silas King in recognition of being the recipient of the 2024 Youth Award due to this remarkable bravery and courage. So that's for you to wear or to put proudly on your wall at home, to show your friends and family. And this is a little gift bag of things for you from the town of Wasaga Beach. And I understand that one of your favorite foods is Timbits. And I love Timbits too, you can tell. My thing. And so from me to you, because I'm so proud of you, I want to give you this gift card for Tim Hortons so you can eat all the Timbits your heart desires. Good job, Silas. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Silas King, our hero. I don't know. I'll have to look. We'll get it fixed otherwise. All right, so moving along in the agenda. Boy, tough to top that one, though. What a remarkable young man. Item number 2 is proclamations, and we have World Polio today. And earlier this morning, we took photos with the flag, and as soon as that rain stops, we'll get out and raise that flag. But we had folks from Rotary here joining us, and it was a good morning to start. And so we do have a recommended motion that the council proclamation October 24, 2025 is World Polio Day in the town of Wasaga Beach be received. Could I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That carries unanimously. On to item number 3, disclosure of pecuniary interests. I have none before me at this time. If at some point throughout the meeting you feel you have a pecuniary interest, please let us know for the record, and we'll make those notes. Item number 4 is the adoption of the agenda, and the recommended motion is that the contents of the agenda for October 23rd, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor DeLeo and Councillor Ego, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Item number 5 is approval of the minutes, and the recommended motion is that the minutes of the council meeting held October 9th, 2025, be adopted as circulated. Any questions or comments on those minutes? Seeing none, a mover and a seconder for this, please. Deputy Mayor Snell and Councillor Timms, all in favor? That carries unanimously. And then item number 6 is presentations, and we do have a couple here this morning that we'll do together. And this is the Mayor's Charity Ram Rodeo check presentation. Today we're starting this council meeting on a high note, obviously, and this is another high note. It's my pleasure to share some truly exciting news with you all today. At the first Mayor's annual Ram Rodeo was a tremendous success. We raised over $55,000 in support of local health care initiatives. This event was more than just a weekend of rodeo thrills, music, and community fun. It was a powerful demonstration of what we can achieve when we come together with purpose. Thanks to the generosity of our sponsors, volunteers, and the thousands of residents and visitors who joined us, we've set a new record for charity giving in Wasaga Beach. Every dollar raised will go directly to strengthening health care in our region, and we are proud to support our outstanding organizations. The Collingwood General Marine Hospital Foundation, which is helping to build our new regional hospital that will serve Wasaga Beach and surrounding communities for generations to come. And I can assure you, if you haven't had a chance to get information and see what that new hospital is going to be, I urge you to do that. It is going to be quite spectacular. And then we have what I like to refer to as Heaven on Earth, which is Hospice Georgian Triangle, which provides compassionate end-of-life care, ensuring dignity, comfort, and support for individuals and families during the most challenging moments in their life. This is the most we've ever raised through a town-organized charity event, and it's just the beginning. Planning is already underway for next year's rodeo, and we're committed to making it even bigger and better. And I think it's important to point out that we do have the ladies from our special events joining us this morning, sitting with us. And listen, the amount of work that these ladies put into these different events is absolutely remarkable. Often on these weekends, they're going 12, 13, 14 hours straight for 2 or 3 days. And I can't say enough good about the hard work and dedication. So ladies, thank you so very much for everything you do. And to everyone who made this possible, thank you. Your support in helping build a healthier and more caring South Georgian Bay community is truly remarkable. So I would ask everyone to please give us all a big round of applause, because this is absolutely amazing. Now for the exciting part, let's bring in the checks, ladies. And I'm just going to ask the Hospital Foundation and the Hospice Foundation to come forward, and we'll do a check presentation here. Band 1, band 2. So this equates to $25,250 for each charity. It's an honor and privilege to be in the mayor of such an amazing, caring, and giving community, and an honor and privilege on behalf of council in the town of Wasaga Beach to present these checks to both of your amazing organizations. Thank you for all you do for the community of Wasaga Beach and surrounding area. It's truly remarkable. Thank you very much. And can we just ask our special events gals to all come up and join us for a picture as well, please? Time to turn sideways, everybody. Great. Thanks very much, everybody. Thank you again.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
What got to tell him once, eh?
That's right.
Good job, ladies.
Thanks, ladies. All right, moving on to the next item, 6.2, another really special item on our agenda, and this is the Clearview Community Church, read the Clothing Depot update, and we do have Pastor Clayton Cullum and Mr. Joshua Castle of the Clearview Community Church are here in attendance to provide an update regarding the Clothing Depot. Good morning, gentlemen. Pleasure to have you. Have a seat. Just push that silver button in the middle. There you go, Clayton, and the floor is yours, sir.
Awesome. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, sir. My name's Clayton. This is my associate, Joshua Cassell. We both serve as pastors at Clearview Community Church. Purpose of our visit today is just for your information. I think many of you have heard about our clothing depot. It's held at the Sunnydale Road Church there in here in Wasaga Beach. So we wanted to put faces to names and to programs and give you opportunities to ask questions if you have any. Clearview Community Church, it's one church that has 4 locations: Stainer, Creemore, Wasaga Beach, and Nottawa. We call it our Collingwood Nottawa location. Specifically about the Wasaga location, I'm the pastor there. I've been there for 2 years. I've been a part of Clearview for 10 years as a pastor and 20 years as a person. I started attending when I was 14 and now I'm 34. The Wasaga Beach location used to be called Lighthouse Community Church, if you're familiar with that. That was planted 25 years ago, operated out of the old post office building where the food bank is, and then moved to its permanent location on Sunnydale Road in 2001. Lighthouse, as a church itself, closed about 4 years ago. It merged with Clearview Community Church and then was relaunched as Clearview Community Church Wasaga Beach. And previously, the Lighthouse Community Church ran an annual clothing drive every fall. That collected and then gave community members a chance to shop for clothing, specifically winter clothing. It was effective. They would have lots of people take advantage of the opportunity, but it was requiring a huge amount of budget and a huge amount of man hours to make an event that size work. So what happened is that the clothing depot began to arise out of this, and Joshua will speak to that.
So my name is Josh, and I help bring administration as well as help make sure the events go off for the communitarian aid side of things. So around 3 years ago, we began to relaunch the clothing depot with a strong volunteer base. It offered a shopping experience for clients who came to receive good quality and gently used clothing for free. The experience, we hope, offers a dignity, responsibility, customer service, and opportunity to meet a felt need. So we open the doors to help others with hygiene items, housing insecurity, and food insecurity as well. In recent times, we've seen such a growth in how many people visit our clothing depot weekly that we've had to, or sorry, bi-weekly, we had to make it a weekly thing, which now operates Thursdays between 4 and 6 p.m. at our Wasaga Beach location on Sunnydale. Our present average is 18 people per week with a high of 38. And through September and October, we saw an increase to these numbers, with the last 2 weeks of October welcoming 37 people that were served, each finding items. All of our clothing that we have, hygiene items, are all through donation. They're all looked after by our volunteer base to ensure that the quality is good. And then we try to give the dignity of a shopping experience and coming alongside them to just make it a warm and welcoming environment for all who come. So thank you for the opportunity to share, and happy to answer any questions that may be present.
Well, thank you very much, gentlemen. Those are pretty amazing numbers. I had no idea that it was that heavily used. I knew that it was successful and it was busy, but that's quite amazing. Questions or comments? Councillor Timms.
Thank you, Your Worship. And thank you, gentlemen, for the work that you do. I do want to make mention that I attended another initiative of the churches, the Prom Day, and my goodness, I was blown away by how professional and classy that event was. Rather than feeling like, going into a thrift shop, it was set up like a boutique. There were people there helping the men and women, young men and women, pick accessories and shoes to go with the chosen outfits. And I left there really in awe of what you do. It's also interesting and exciting that you have congregations to fill 4 churches in a time when a lot of our churches are dwindling. What are your numbers, if you know that and could share?
Yeah, thank you. We'll be back in a few months to talk about the prom shop. It's an amazing program. As for the Sunday mornings, our average attendance last year across the 4 locations hovered just under 700 people on a Sunday. In terms of our children's programs, all of our locations host a full children's program, grades from 0 to grade 5 on Sundays. And we have nearly 200 children in our programs each week. We also have youth drop-in programs and other things like that throughout the midweek as well, and some of them are on Sundays as well. So yeah, we have a large church right now. We feel that God is moving and doing something powerful in our communities, and we're excited to be a part of it. And so it's a really great place to be at a church. Like I said, I've been there for 20 years, and I would like to stay for a really long time. Yes.
Councillor, go ahead.
Thank you for that information, and I suspect that Councillor Ego might want to say a word. Council is quite aware of the closet because of initiative that Councillor Ego pushed, and I hope is being well utilized. But again, thank you for this good work.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Ego.
Thank you very much, and through your worship, yes, I've ended up having quite a close relationship with this church and with Clayton in particularly, and Josh. And yes, the town does support you with providing the bus, so all the councillors know that we support that clothing depot. And I wanted to speak also to Councillor Timms. I was blown away when I saw it for the first time, by chance. And so professional. Your volunteer staff were incredible. It's shopping with dignity. It is truly like going into a boutique. You just can't say enough about the experience for people on the clothing depot. It's fabulous. And yeah, the need is great. And then the other part, I'm just going to touch on the breakfast program, because I see how hard this church is working in the community and what they're doing. So I've gotten to know Clayton and Josh through that. We're there every week, Monday and Wednesday mornings. Started off a struggle. Clayton was far more patient than I was. I went, no kids, no kids. Third time I'm really frustrated. But anyway, just have faith, it's going to happen. I want to share with you, and that was at the end of June that we, gave it a go. And now we are just into October, and on Monday we had 71 kids there having bagels and cream cheese, which they love, and apples. So I guess I want to go on how hard this church is working in the community. I'm seeing it firsthand. Thank you.
Good stuff. Councillor Belanger?
Yes, thank you, through the mayor. Yeah, unfortunately, we live in a world where the need seems to be growing every year, despite all our efforts. And I too am a member of a very active congregation in town, but I would like you on my behalf and council's behalf to pass on our thanks and appreciation to the volunteers, because intentions are great, but it's the effort of many, many volunteers that work relentlessly for even if we doubled their pay, it wouldn't be too exciting. It would still be zero. So thank you very much, and thank you for all of the efforts your congregation is doing for our community.
Thank you, Councillor. Other questions or comments from any members of council? I'll just end then, gentlemen, to say thank you for all your hard work and your dedication, and it's people like you in Wasaga Beach and in this community and surrounding communities, quite frankly, that make Wasaga Beach such a very special place to live, work, learn, and play. And this whole region is so blessed to have so many citizens who are caring and giving. We see it in Wasaga Beach all the time. If we ever put a call out for help or assistance or something in need, the residents here are always at the plate and ready to bat. So thank you, congratulations, keep up the great work, please, and I think you're going to be there a lot longer, Clayton. All right, we do have a motion here that Pastor Clayton Cullum and Pastor Joshua Cassell of the Clearview Community Church are attendants to provide an update regarding the clothing depot, and the presentation from the Clearview Community Church regarding the clothing depot update be received for information. I have a mover and a seconder for this, please. Councillor Ego and Councillor Timms, all in favor? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Moving on to item number 6.3, another presentation we have this morning from the Collingwood Climate Action Team update on the green economy, Canada. So I'll ask you folks to come on forward, have a seat, push the silver button in the middle when you're ready, and the floor is yours. And welcome back.
Thank you. I have a slide deck. Why is this going like that? So I just... my name is Catherine Daw. I'm with the Collingwood Climate Action Team, and Your Honor, Mayor Smith, Deputy Mayor, where's the deputy mayor? Sorry, Deputy Mayor Snell, sorry, my apologies, and councillors. Thank you for providing me with an opportunity yet again to come and give you an update on the Green Economy South Georgia Bay project. So I wanted to provide you with a bit of an update as well as where we're going now. Next slide, please. Oh, I guess I can do that, right? Okay. So I'm just giving you an update as of March the 25th to give you an idea of where we made a shift or a change in things. So we've made a lot of connections, we've hosted a lot of events, we've launched a cohort 1. As you know, we were aiming for 2 cohorts, and we have not undertaken the second cohort. There were a number of things that happened over the course of our work up until March that made us recognize that we were being challenged in a number of ways. And so we felt that we really needed a better understanding of what the needs are of the business community. While we thought we had that understanding, we thought we could do much better. Also, the other thing was that the Green Economy Canada model was very challenging, and we felt that it may not really fit for our region. Most of their work is done at a larger urban center base, and so we were, in a way, a very small pilot of what they thought they might be able to do for a more rural, small town setting. And we felt that it really wasn't going to work for us. So we stepped away from our relationship with Green Economy Canada and decided that we were going to make some changes. And in addition to that, we were struggling with the funding that we were going to need if we were going to continue with the model for Green Economy Canada, as well as the Collingwood Climate Action Team as a charity was the one that was seeking the funds for this project, and we were also working on other projects. So we were running out of capacity to do that. Next slide. So I'm a sailor, and I know that you can't always change the direction of the wind. If you have a destination in mind, you're always aiming for that, but it's also about the journey to get there. And when you're off course or you're not going in the right direction, you need to adjust your sails because the wind may be still coming from the same direction, and that may not be the direction that you need to go on. So in March, we made a decision to make a shift away from the Green Economy Canada and go back to some of the things that we really felt that we were missing and needed to do. Next slide. So what we've done is we've adjusted the scope, the budget, and the time frame. We're going to continue. We did launch cohort 1 of 3 businesses, and they are on their journey with Green Economy Canada. So we are going to learn some lessons from that experience, and they will be sharing their stories about that through case studies. We've also decided that we'd spend more time building a network of businesses and organizations who wanted to learn how to become more sustainable. So what we've undertaken is we've actually undertaken a business survey, which we did across the region. We had an extremely high response rate to that, and I will share some of that with you as we go through these slides. We also decided that we would go and look at 3 other existing sustainable green economy models and assess what their fit would be for our region. So these were Sustainable Kingston, Sustainable Waterloo Region, and Green Step, which is a privately funded organization. The other 2 are nonprofits. Next slide. So this is a very busy slide, but this is the journey that we're on to the end of February of 2026. I'm really going to highlight what's in bold because that's where we are now. We're actually moving into the October-December actions that we're undertaking. So we did do an outreach to the businesses and developed a survey. We're fortunate that we have somebody on our volunteer team that works for Ipsos, so he helped us do a really good job of the survey questions and how to analyze it. We've completed that, and we're building out a workshop or a panel, actually, that will be hosted in November. So we're working on that, and we're working on developing an Eco-Leader Award program using the Wasaga Beach Climate Action Team's model that they worked with the Chamber of Commerce on as part of the foundation for that program. So that's where we are right now and where we're heading. We will be in January assessing the cohort experience as well as celebrating what they've achieved, and we'll be preparing for the model that we're assessing right now. And we're down really to the Sustainable Waterloo Region model, and we will be visiting them in a couple of weeks to go down and talk to them about how they might be able to work with us. They have a couple of options for us that will probably present us with the right kind of fit for this region on this project. Next slide. So I wanted to share some of the survey results. You do have a copy, or you should have a copy of the full survey report, but I've really wanted to highlight some key takeaways for you. I'm not going to read them all because you can read them as well as I can, but I would say that I think we were very pleased we were surprisingly pleased that so many people were either somewhat familiar or very familiar with the idea of sustainability practices. And in fact, many of them are working on doing that themselves right now in some form or fashion. 65% reported that money was the biggest motivator to make change. They could see that they would have some savings and reduce costs, but also it was the biggest barrier to making change. So when we do our panel discussion in November, that is what we're going to be focused on, is having some businesses that are working on sustainable practices and how they are facing those barriers. And we'll have some experts, both in the region, people in the region as well as from outside the region that are doing that work. I'm really pleased also that all 6 of the municipalities participated. I will say that over 75% of the responses came from Wasaga Beach, Collingwood, and Town of Blue Mountain. And that's really an important feature because that is where most of the businesses are. We're talking about 3 other municipalities that are heavily rural and agricultural based. Majority of the businesses that did respond were in the 2 to 10 employees. That doesn't mean that all of them were that size. And just over half, interestingly, said that they own their own space, which means that they have more opportunity to make some changes to actually their physical location. Next slide. So I just wanted to highlight this chart for you because we wanted to understand, we wanted to get an idea of how they thought we could be improving the support for them or where they really needed help. And so the one that really stands out obviously is cost. I would also say that they do want to work and build more of their awareness. The quotes there really say that they do get lost in the day-to-day, and as a small business owner, I would say, yes, that is absolutely the case. So having guidance for that bigger picture and knowing that there's somebody that can help them on this journey is really important for them. And it's also about them connecting with each other, because we all know that many businesses work in a silo. They don't have time to be talking to other businesses. And they recognize that this is really important. And I think those are really big messages for us and for you as the town to understand what's going on with this project. Next slide. So the question is, so what? Why are we doing this work? And what does it really mean for not just businesses, but for the region as a whole? So on average, about 23% of our climate pollution through GHG emissions across the region comes from business, industrial, and manufacturing. And that's, almost 25% of our emissions in this region. And that is pretty significant. And so it means that if we can work with businesses to help them and support them to reduce these emissions, get their operating costs down, increase their savings, and really build a resilient business community. This is very important for our economic well-being as well as the well-being of the future, for a greener future and the transition that we all are going to have to make as we all see the changes of climate change making a big dent in what our experiences are today. Even the rain today is, an example, because we're not getting those nice, long, gentle rains that go on for a couple of days. We're getting blasted with torrential rain. And businesses are suffering because of that. I just was at a talk last week with another group, and they're talking about the impact on tourism from the weather events and how it's causing so much more expense for them to have to figure out. They've laid sod at a golf course, and it's washed away the next day, and now they're having to figure out how they're going to replace that and the expenses that go with it. So that's all I have to say. I'm open to questions. I would urge this council to seriously consider supporting this project. I'm not necessarily just asking for funds, because I'm not doing that today, but I would ask that you seriously think about how you can better support this project. It is a regional project. We have a team of 6 now, and it's mainly made up of volunteers. We only have 2 people that are paid. And we have representation from Wasaga Beach and Town of Blue Mountain and Collingwood on that project team. So it is becoming much more of a regional focus. And I think that there is value in this council supporting it in whatever way it can. Thank you. I'll take questions.
Well, thank you very much. And I'll open the floor for questions or comments from members of council. Seeing any? Deputy Mayor Snell?
Thank you, Worship, through you. Surprised to hear you have 2 paid employees. Are they part-time, full-time? Can you give some background about that?
They are part-time. One of them is our Director of Community Engagement, and her role is multifaceted. It's not just on this project. We are a charity, so we have raised enough funds and have enough support that we were in a position where we could start to hire people on a part-time basis. And then we have another individual that's doing work on this project on a part-time basis, as well as some other components of our work. We have 3 major undertakings, and this is one of them.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Eagle?
Thank you, and through your worship. Yes, I just want to say that our town, and I think you may be aware, but maybe not, but this week we have our own advisory committee here on town, and they hosted for the staff and the public just this week an energy symposium.
Yes, I'm well aware. I wasn't able to attend, unfortunately, because I had another commitment, yes, on the night of. But I did make this presentation to the advisory committee on the 15th of July. So they are well aware of this project.
Perfect. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
thank
all I
you.
wanted to get out. Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thanks very much. And I hear it was a very good success, the meeting on the 21st, that you had a good turnout for that. So
Thanks.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you, Councillor. Other questions or comments? All right, ladies, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We do have a recommended motion that the presentation by the Collingwood Climate Action Team to Council pertaining to an update on Green Economy Canada be received. A mover and a seconder for this, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor Snell, seconded by Councillor Eagle. All in favour? That carries unanimously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, ladies. Moving on to item number 7, government relations. We have none today. And item number 8 is staff reports, and the following reports have been pulled and moved to matters for consideration to be voted on separately, and those are items 8.4, 8.6, and 8.7. And I understand that Councillor Timms would like to make a comment pertaining to 8.2, the information report, Recreation and Facilities Department update. So, Councillor, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, I just have a comment for Director Roos as well as a bit of a question. Chris, thank you once again for a very fulsome report. It's a great reminder of the significant investment required to keep our facilities running at the level our community expects. I do have to say I'm always genuinely impressed by how our usage numbers just keep climbing, how our program is growing, and how the revenue we're generating is helping to offset costs. I think this really speaks volume to how well these spaces are being embraced by the community, and this kind of information is critical as we plan for the future. I do want to bring something forward to you that I hear all the time, and most recently from Carrie Plater, who is a member of our advisory committee on economic development and tourism. Is there an opportunity to look at an ATM at the TPAL, especially when I read that in September, we hosted the largest hockey tournament to date with visitors at 10,600 over a 3-day period, which is like a stunning amount of people. And I have actually been at the service desk buying a bus pass for my granddaughter, and someone behind me couldn't also pay for something because they didn't have access to an ATM. There's even a machine down at the library side of the building that kind of looks like an ATM. I see people go and look at that all the time. But I'll just leave that with you. It might be something, I don't know, procedure of how that would be done, but I think that would be really helpful with the volume of visitors that are coming and going out of that building. Thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. Director Roos, you want to respond to that?
Certainly, thank you, Your Worship, and that's a great recommendation, Councillor Timms. We do have a plan in motion. There is an existing town service contract. It was based primarily on the beachfront buildings. There is one unit at the Recplex right now, but our hopes are to update that, and our manager of beachfront is looking after this process so that we have something soon. But it's overdue. We've been open for a while, and it certainly is something that people look to from time to time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Belanger?
Thank you, through the mayor. I sent Chris an email, I think, last night, but in any event, we just held the Energy Saving Symposium, and I just want to say the work you're doing on customer service with your team and the level of assistance we received and the attitude of customer service, and they were very pleasant, very professional, very attentive to handling anything that came up. So I just want to thank you for that. It's I know you're putting a lot of effort into that, and it appears to be working, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And we just ask, and I know you will, Chris, but make sure you pass that on to each and every team member, that we're seeing that improvement, because that's important. And I know that you and the chief and Scott and so on have been working hard on that as well. So good job. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, the next item then is Councillor Eagle would like to make a comment with respect to Report 8.3, the Legacy Banner nomination. And I will look to Councillor Eagle. Councillor?
Thank you, and through your worship. So, yes, Wasaga Beach is having a moment, and this is a first, a big moment. We have Jason Arnett's very well-deserved banner and recognition of his NHL career and Stanley Cup win in the New Stars Arena. But when it came to recognition for other outstanding athletes, there wasn't a policy in place to give them the accolades they too deserved. So, a while back, Vicky Bendos was nominated by a local resident for Athlete of the Year. However, through staff research, it was discovered that Vicky had been Athlete of the Year in 2005, when she was celebrated as a rising star in women's hockey. So that is where the story ended, until now. There was not a policy to honor such an athlete as Vicky. You know, when you come from the private sector into municipal law, there is a big learning curve. You just can't decide something can be done, as there are rules and bylaws and things have to be put into place, a template, so to speak. That is where I really want to commend our staff, in particular, Jenny Marlette, our Supervisor of Recreation, and Chris Ruse, Director of Recreation. They have worked diligently doing research and putting the commemorative legacy banner policy in place. Which brings me back to Vicky and why she has been nominated. This is interesting, and this is just a snippet. So here's just a glimpse into some of her outstanding achievements. She began her hockey journey with the Wasaga Stars Minor Hockey Association before advancing through the Clearview Ice Caps, Etobicoke Dolphins, and Team Ontario. At the 2005-2006 Under-18 National Championships, she scored the gold medal winning goal, was named Most Valuable Player, and, you ready for this? Had her game, stick, and gloves enshrined into the Hockey Hall of Fame. So that's quite an accomplishment. There were greater on-ice achievements through the years that you may wish to read about in the full staff report. So, to life after a stellar on-ice hockey career. Vicky transitioned into coaching and performance development. She helped lead Canada's under-18 women's team to a World Championship gold medal, becoming one of a few individuals to win gold for Canada as an athlete and a coach. It's pretty awesome. Here we are at present day. Vicky now serves as Director of Performance for the Professional Women's Hockey League's Montreal Victoire, strength and conditioning coach with Hockey Canada, and sports performance coach at Brock University. She will serve as strength and conditioning coach for Canada's national women's team leading up to the 2026 Olympic Winter Games. Vicky continues to proudly list Wasaga Beach as her hometown, a community equally proud of her achievements. She has stated she would be very happy to contribute in some way to girls' hockey right here in Wasaga. 20 years after receiving the Town of Wasaga Beach Athlete of the Year Award, along with her international success and dedication to advance women's hockey, amongst other achievements, make her an outstanding nominee for the first commemorative legacy banner. Staff have recommended that the banner be raised in 2026 after Team Canada returns from the Olympics and as Vicky's schedule with the Professional Women's Hockey League allows. And what a moment that will be. And I have one other just latest update that I just received last evening, that Vicky and the family are absolutely thrilled beyond to be looked at for perhaps this nomination. And Vicky would love to take the Wasaga Beach flag to the Olympics with her, to be able to take a photo of that there. So I think that kind of sums it up, how proud we are and how excited and truly grateful the family are for being considered for this award. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Let's start with a big round of applause for Vicky, another hometown hero. And thank you, Councillor Ego, to you and staff for bringing this to the forefront and making sure that this recognition is taking place and that we've got the right policies and procedures in place to do so. You mentioned something very important, although it's all very important, but the one thing that is really, as the mayor now stuck in my head, is that, you know, such an amazing athlete from Wasaga Beach is willing to help, if need be, to get Wasaga Beach girls hockey started. And so I'm looking to staff to say, let's reach out, let's get a meeting, and as soon as Vicky's available, let's have that conversation, because I think that's very important to our community. So thank you. Any other questions or comments on, sorry, not questions, comments on this matter? Any other comments or questions from council or staff on any other meetings on the, or items on the consent agenda? Councillor Timms?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a comment. I read that report, but boy, I'm way more excited about it now after hearing Councillor Ego's delivery. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we do have a recommended motion then that the following consent list items under staff reports and all recommendations contained therein be adopted, excluding the items pulled, and moved to matters for consideration to be voted on separately. Mover and seconder for this, please. Moved by Councillor White, seconded by Councillor Timms. All in favor? That carries unanimously. And moving on to item number 9 then, under correspondence, we have the following correspondence that have been pulled and moved to matters for consideration to be voted on separately as item number 9.2. Are there any other comments from council or staff with respect to correspondence? Seeing none, we have a recommended motion that the following consent list items under correspondence be received for information, excluding items pulled and moved to matters for consideration to be voted on separately. Mover and a seconder for this, please. Moved by Councillor DeLeo and seconded by Councillor Belanger. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Moving on then to item number 10, minutes of boards and committees. And we do have a recommended motion that consent list items under minutes and boards and committees be received for information. Nothing has been pulled there. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, could I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Moved by Councillor Ego, seconded by Councillor White. All in favor? That carries unanimously. And now on to item number 11, matters for consideration. We have the Twin Pad Arena Library parking lot expansion detailed design, and this has been pulled by both Councillor Belanger and Councillor White. So before we get to the two members of council, I'm going to look to Andrew and Kevin to speak to this report. Andrew or Kevin? Kevin?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, just the report before council is specific to the detailed design for the parking lot expansion at the Twin Pad Arena Library. Just by way of background, I know there has been some questions about parking and certainly the number of parking stalls before and post construction of this school, and just wanted to provide some clarity around the site plan statistics. The existing site plan for the arena and library before the school was a total of 363 stalls. Once the school is constructed, the shared total will be 401 stalls. So that's a net gain of 38 stalls. Obviously, parking lot utilization rates will be different, as we know, in terms of the peak at the arena versus the peak at the school, and the school is not open typically in the evenings, on weekends, the summer. So we did consider that when we looked at this vision for this hub concept at that location. In terms of the staff report, we're looking to design an expanded parking lot for those critical peaks, whether it's a concert or when there are times that there may be concurrent events happening, whether it be the theater and a tournament per se. And so we have had discussions with the county. We acknowledge this is county lands, but certainly prior to any construction, there's permitting or encroachments or acquisition that needs to take place. But they were certainly supportive of advancing the design as we have before you today. We are going to look to optimize the parking in that quadrant, and conceptually, we think we could probably get another 80 to 90 spots in there. So that will certainly bring your total closer to almost 500 stalls. So again, we started at 363. The combined parking when the school is constructed is 401. And then we'll see another 80 or 90, which is great. So that really is just some of the context, because I know I did get specific questions about how many stalls, but if there's anything specific, Your Worship, beyond that, I can certainly respond to any questions.
Thank you, Kevin. Andrew, anything to add? All right, any questions or comments from members of council? Sorry, it was pulled by Councillor Belanger, so I'll go to Councillor Belanger first. Councillor?
Yes, thank you, through the chair. As you know, there's been quite a bit of conversation in social media regarding the parking. So we did have a report earlier, and I believed it was very positive. So this is positive, and on a really fantastic event, you know, there probably will be opportunities to use parking across the street and those kind of things. But there's a couple of things that I have noticed, like even the night of the symposium, the number of people coming in for the hockey game from the east side was down substantially from what I'm used to seeing. And I believe that a lot of people believe because the east entrance off of River Road is closed, they're thinking that all of the parking, even in the basketball area, is no longer available on the east side. So anything we can do to promote the fact that there's still a lot of parking out there and that they can still get to the east side entrance doors would be positive. Maybe I'm seeing our CAO want to say something, so maybe it's going to change in the near future, but go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Belanger, through you, Mr. Mayor. That situation will improve over the coming weeks. We anticipate that the amended entry point, we're actually sliding the entry point a little bit to the west. That should be completed within the next couple weeks. We're hearing by the end of October, maybe a couple days, give or take, but by the end of October, we anticipate that work would be completed. And there will be 20 parking spots reestablished in that area, including some accessible spots. So I think once that reopens and that there are some parking there, that problem will alleviate itself.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to say, I've noticed too, as I attended most of the games last year, and the attendance does seem a little lighter. I don't know if that's due to parking, but anything that we can do to make the public aware of all available parking in the area. I know, I believe, Mayor, you had spoken to some of the businesses across the street, and they were very willing to, in the evenings, that somebody could possibly park there. Maybe there's opportunities to just look at some public announcements to make sure that people are aware. Thank you.
One additional comment I would make, staff have gone out and removed the parking prohibited signs on Theme Park Drive on one side, so we are making some additional parking available on Theme Park in the interim while the construction is underway and while we explore the expanded parking area. So again, we're taking steps to do the best we can to alleviate the situation in the short term.
Thank you, Andrew. Jerry?
Thank you, Your Worship. Further to Andrew's comments, we did get notifications from Croziers that they're on track for the end of the month, like Andrew said, a day or two on either side of that, but they're happy with the progress. We do have signage up at the arena that says the east side is open as well. And I do know, I'm not sure about Wasaga Beach minor hockey, but I do know the River Dragons actually are promoting parking back there as well. So in advance of their games, Brandon Billy and his communications team are advertising that those spaces are there. So people are engaged for sure. And like I say, good news is October, November 1st type of thing, we should be 20 more spaces in that east entrance open.
Thank you very much. All right, to go to Councillor White.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm glad we're having this conversation. I know that when we had initially approached this conversation, I'd felt pretty strongly that we were all aware that while there was going to be a short-term blip in parking due to the construction of the school, that we would end up with a bunch of new spots. So I was really shocked to hear residents reach out to me and say that we were losing spots, and I thought, well, maybe did I write that down wrong, but I did not. But also, too, with the immense amount of shared use between the two facilities with the theater and also the track and field, I feel it's very important that we do look at that back lot to see if we can get those 80 to 90 extra spots. I do think they'll end up being used. I think that school is going to be a lot more popular than we think. But to the point, and even still, I think the owner of the castle has mentioned that that their family is happy to allow people to park there and whatnot, and that's great, and I love the community pride in that. However, I don't think that we should be encouraging people to be parking across there until we establish a controlled intersection or even a pedestrian crosswalk there. I don't think coming over that, especially at nighttime, if you've had a concert or whatever going on, you got people ripping down Highway 92 there as it is, and then people trying to get back to their cars at night. I don't think that's a wise combination, so I don't know. I know Kev really loves putting up traffic lights and stuff like that and pedestrian crossroads. We wake up every day with that, but I think we should look at it for sure.
Thank you, Councillor White. All right, any other questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Ego?
Thank you, and through your worship, yes, I have to say I would agree with Councillor White on not encouraging parking across the street. Winter months, dark, and the 4 lanes, so I wouldn't encourage it neither.
All right, other questions or comments? I think what has to be realized here, and I think for most it is, and that is that this is, again, just like the beachfront and wherever else that we're moving our community forward in a positive, affordable, sustainable manner, that there's short-term pain for long-term gain. And I know everybody, including myself, wants to be able to park as close to the building, especially in the rain or in the winter months. And it's almost like we want all the luxuries that we can have, and I get it. But I'm sure that when this project is done, and we have a new theater that I think will be very well used. We have our first high school ever for our children, which is just unbelievable. I personally can see no negative here. It's a short-term blip, and we'll work through it. But please be rest assured to the public that staff have thought this through, council has thought this through. We're doing all we possibly can, and if we find other things that we can do that will improve it, we will. And if there's any thoughts or ideas that someone else has, feel free to give us a call and share those. But the next couple of years in Wasaga Beach, we're going to see some disruption, but that's part of progress. And I think the vast majority of folks are all about the progress that we're making. And so it's a good news story. I've always said that when you have traffic problems, when you have parking problems, they're good problems to have. It's much better than having no traffic and no parking and no business. And so, what we know is on hockey nights, on nights when we hold concerts, on evenings when there's other things happening at the arena, when there's hockey tournaments, and although, parking's an issue, our restaurants are doing well, our businesses are thriving, and that's vitally important. And so I just ask everyone to please bear with us and be patient, and together, together, we will get through this. All right, we do have a motion then that the report titled Twin Pad Arena and Library Parking Lot Extension Detailed Design RFQ PW 2025-27 to the council meeting of October 23rd, 2025 be received, and that the contract number PW 2025-27 be awarded to CF Crozier and Associates, Inc. in the amount not to exceed $54,000 plus HST, and that the costs associated with the same be funded from in-year surplus or general reserves as required. Now, before I go to a mover or seconder and ask the clerk to call the question, the other thing I think is important to point out is, because I hear this quite often, I get the questions. You know, we built this beautiful facility, we built this great parking lot, and here we are ripping it up. And, you know, taxpayers are paying a second time to do this because we didn't plan. And it's important, I think, for the public to know, in Wasaga Beach, your tax dollars are not being used to do this work. This is all being funded by the province of Ontario and the Simcoe County District School Board to make these changes. And yes, I know there's only one taxpayer, but you know, the fact that it's not your taxes being raised to do this, and that it's the provincial tax money that is looking after this in the end, I think is very important for people to understand. Taxpayers of Wasaga Beach, I can't reiterate enough, are not paying for this directly through their property tax. All right, you've heard the question. Could I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Moved by Councillor Belanger and seconded by Councillor White. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, those are Councillor Belanger.
In favor?
Councillor DeLeo.
In favor.
Councillor Eagle.
In favor.
Councillor Timms.
In favor?
Councillor White.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Snell.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Carries unanimously.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And we'll now go to the next item, which is honoring veterans' selection of artwork and program expansion. And this was pulled by Councillor Timms. Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I truly appreciate the intent behind honoring veterans through this mural project. That said, I feel there's a gap in how these stories are being represented. Unfortunately, the print on Appendix A isn't legible on our laptops, but from what I can see, the designs don't fully reflect the diversity of those who served or the different eras that shaped our military history. Our veterans include women, Indigenous soldiers, Black Canadians, and Asian, Japanese, Chinese, and South Asian Canadians, many of whom served despite significant barriers. It's important that our public art reflects that diversity, different communities and different eras that are all part of the Canadian story. I'd like staff to revisit this with the artists to better reflect that history. I also support the idea of exploring a living webpage linked by a QR code where families could add names, photos, and stories over time, ensuring that the legacy continues to grow. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor. I'm going to look to staff to give us some more information on this, and I think to fill Council in as to what the process here, and I think that may help answer or alleviate your concerns. Councillor Jerry?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Yes, the contract with the artist, so these are their renderings, they're their first offering, but once we select the artist, and the next step in the process of staff will work with the artist to adjust and make changes to their presentation. So we recognize what you're saying. It was their first blush at it, but I think the contract calls up to 2, possibly 3 iterations before we get to the final one. So I appreciate your comments. We noted that as well. I hadn't thought about the QR code, so I'll have to follow through with maybe communications on how that might unfold. But in terms of the images and what those renderings will look like, that's fully palatable at our end and malleable at our end to adjust, and we'll take your comments into consideration when we make those adjustments.
Thank you, Jerry. Any other questions or comments on this? Councillor DeLeo?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Just so for clarification, we're still going to go with A, but you're just going to change some of the faces? Okay. Thank you.
So the two that council, the two most popular amongst council are the ones that now staff are working with, and they'll go back to those artists and make adjustments that will then come back to council to see again. And then we have, I understand, a second, maybe even a third time. So we'll be able to have a look at the second rendition, go back at least one more time, and then that'll come back to council for final decision. All right, any other questions or comments on this? All right, we do have a recommended motion that the report titled Honoring Veterans, Selection of Artwork and Program expansion to the council meeting of October 23rd, 2025 be received, and that council approve the concept artwork presented in Appendix A as the design for installation at 711 River Road West as part of the town's Veteran Commemoration Program, and that council directs staff to work with the artists in Appendix A, to ensure the final product is a direct reflection of the efforts of Wasaga Beach veterans, and that council authorize staff to proceed with the fabrication and installation of the approved mural at a cost not to exceed the budget previously approved at $25,000, and that council approve an additional $15,300 for the project expansion to be funded from in-year surplus of general reserves if required, and that council approve the expansion of the program to include 3 additional large-scale murals for installation outside of the Wasaga Stars Arena and the Wasaga Beach Public Library, and that council approve the concept artwork presented in Appendix B as the design for installation at the Wasaga Stars Arena and Wasaga Beach Public Library as part of the town's Veteran Commemoration Program. Could I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Snell and seconded by Councillor White. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Councillor Belanger?
In favor.
Councillor DeLeo? In favor. Councillor Eagle?
In favor.
Councillor Timms?
In favor.
Councillor White?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Snell? In favor. Mayor Smith?
In favor.
Thank you, Your Worship. That carries unanimously.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. And we now move on to the next item, which is Skydive Lease Agreement, Klondike Sports Park. And this was pulled by Councillor DeLeo. Before I go to Councillor DeLeo, I'll look to staff for any comments or updates on this. Andrew?
Yeah, I'm happy to give a quick overview. As council is aware, I issued notice to Skydive that the town would not be renewing their lease that expires December 31st. Skydive responded that they would like to renew the lease. So what that triggers is bringing this matter forward to council for consideration. What I would like to share with council is that this matter is not just about the drone incident that occurred at the Mayor's Rodeo. It's actually far more comprehensive than that. If council has questions or concerns about the drone issue specifically, I'll defer those to the fire chief, who has been dealing with Transport Canada and certainly is far more educated on drone flying and the requirements than I am. I believe the chief has his license, emergency services, flies drones regularly within our community. There are a number of issues that went into my decision. Those include issues of public safety and not, again, just about the conflict between skydiving and drones. We have concerns about the recreational uses at the sports park are expanding, which they should. That's a phenomenal thing that's occurring in our community. It's apparent that there is a bit of a conflict between skydivers landing in the middle of baseball diamonds. Recently, we had an incident where a baseball tournament had to be halted twice as skydivers landed in the middle of the field. In my opinion, it's irrelevant whether or not Skydive was entitled to land there as per their lease. The issue is we have a conflict that's emerging. In my opinion, it's a public safety issue, and that's something that we can't ignore. In my opinion, the needs of the greater community must always come before the interest of a private business, whatever we're talking about. The sports park was built for our community to engage in sporting activities. So it's important that we put that first. Inappropriate conduct, I'm happy to get into some of that if council would like me to, about what happened at the rodeo. But I think the more important issue are the financial considerations, and specifically the risk mitigation on the part of the municipality. In my opinion, that is the most important issue that we should be discussing here today. Both myself and the clerk had an opportunity to meet with the town's new insurance company. As you are well aware, we have a new insurance provider. It's a municipal pool of a bunch of municipalities across Simcoe County. We did have a long discussion with our insurance provider, and I think it's important that I share some of what was shared with me during this discussion. The town, and in fact all of us, deal with risk every day. And what we do in all instances is try and mitigate risk. A child can swing on a swing in a park. There's inherent risk associated with that. A child playing on a playground, there's risk associated with that. We do our best to mitigate. We ensure that all professional standards are involved in the design of these structures, et cetera. There's a risk crossing a street. There's risk driving a car. We face trip and fall claims quite often. What the insurance provider has said to me is those are issues, they come up quite regularly, but they're minor in financial impact. So we quite often get trip and fall claims. Happens every year, particularly in the winter. Settlements, if settlements are arrived at, they're small. Skydiving is the complete opposite. Incidents are infrequent, luckily, but they do happen. And you hear of incidents in North America, around the world, every now and again. Again, no one ever wants to see a skydive incident. They can result in quite serious injuries, possibly death. The challenge is, although they are infrequent, when they happen, they're big. And claims are not small. They tend to be hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars. We went through the skydive lease with the insurance company. What the insurer has conveyed to me and our clerk is that currently the municipality is exposed. There is no indemnity clause in the lease agreement that was executed in 2001. That renewal agreement was altered, and there were some significant things taken out of that agreement that has left the municipality in an exposed situation.
Sorry, Andrew, I just want you to clarify, you said the lease agreement in 2001.
The lease agreement in 2001 was a renewal. The original lease was in
2021, do you mean?
Sorry, 2021.
Okay, good, thank you.
Apologies. As a side note, I think if council's not aware, I was a staff member back in 2016 that worked with Skydive to help them get established in our community. The original lease was in 2016. The renewal happened in 2021. There are a couple things notably absent from the 2021 lease. One is an indemnity clause. That is a critical clause to have in a skydive lease. It protects the municipality. Also, the covenanter clause was removed. What that means, God forbid, knock on wood, something were to happen that exposes the municipality, Skydive has very little obligation. They could walk away, their corporation could be dissolved. There's no covenanter, there's no personal liability there. For Skydive, the municipality would be left to clean up the situation. Had this incident occurred earlier in the spring, my recommendation to council would have been to immediately sever the lease agreement, having learned what I've learned from our insurance company. The weather is colder, rainier. We're probably going to see less frequent jumps between now and December 31st when the lease expires. I'm still nervous about the situation, and I would urge council to give this some thought as to whether or not you'd like to sever immediately, or if you're comfortable allowing the lease to tick out by December 31st. But that is a very important consideration that went into my decision to issue that notice to Skydive Wasaga. Additionally, future use of the sports park. I don't think we're going to pull back from future use. If anything, we're going to do more. Not only with sporting events, we heard the amazing results of the mayor's first rodeo that occurred this year. I see those types of events and festivals increasing at the sports park. This conflict is only going to increase over time, as well as part of the Destination Wasaga master planning process. We're going to be taking a look at the lands that not only at the beachfront, but throughout the provincial park area that extends over to the sports park and the adjacent 100-acre land. So I do see this as a conflict that is going to continue to cause concern. And again, no one is more vested in skydive. Again, I was the one that helped them get established. I was very happy to see them when I returned still in business. Having survived for 10 years, not an easy thing to do. But when you look at all of the issues at play, I think the decision not to renew the lease was the prudent thing to do to protect the interest of the corporation and the best interest of the community at large. I'm happy to drill down into more specifics if council has any questions about any of the specifics in the report.
Thank you, Andrew. I think, thank you for bringing it all to council's attention. I think what's important here also today is that we have a better understanding of the situation that occurred at the Mayor's Rodeo. And what, if anything, we did incorrectly as a community, and what steps we put in place to remedy that. And more importantly, I think it's important for the public to know and to hear that at no time was anyone's life or was anyone in harm's way. Our operator did everything correctly, made sure that she had situational awareness and was in a location where drone was always in her sight. And so I think it's important for the public to understand this, because there's a lot of information and disinformation, misinformation that is out and about. And it's important for us to clear that up. So, Andrew, I'll come back to you.
Yeah, I'm going to refer this to the fire chief, who can give a bit more depth of knowledge or depth of explanation on that specific issue.
Thank you, Andrew. Morning, Chief.
Thank you. Good morning again. So as the CEO has indicated, he did ask that I be part of this review of that situation, and I believe the reason for that is the fire department has had a drone in Wasaga Beach since about 2016 or 17, and we do have a history with Transport Canada, whereas we've obtained a special flight operations certificate that would provide coverage to the whole town. So we do have some knowledge of how drones are flown here in Wasaga Beach. So I did speak to Transport Canada in regards specifically to the drone use during the rodeo event. That conversation took place on October the 10th, and I believe that conversation with Transport Canada was quite productive. There was clarification provided regarding pilot responsibilities as well as drone operation regulations through Ontario. The conversation revealed that the town should have applied for a special flight operations certificate, otherwise known as an SFOC. And that was due to the drone being flown at a publicly advertised event, which again was the Mayor's Rodeo. The requirement for the SFOC to fly at a public advertised event is based on a new regulation that came out in the province in April of 2025, and it is a separate from the skydive operations that were taking place that day. Through the conversation with Transport Canada, they did confirm that the airspace above and around the sports park was not restricted at any time, and that drone operations are permitted in the area. So we did complete a after-action review internally, whereas we spoke to the pilot of the drone to better understand what happened from their perspective. And what we found out was that they did attempt to contact multiple times the aerodrome as well as the skydive operator in advance of the actual flights taking place. They did complete a site safety assessment as well as a pre-flight inspection of the drone. They avoided flying over the public. They did maintain visual line of sight of the drone at all times. And in their opinion, they did not experience any near misses or airspace conflicts during any of the flights that took place that day. And further, I was left with confidence to believe that if an airspace conflict was to have occurred, they had the ability and absolutely would have landed that drone, immediately, as we would expect our staff to do so. So next steps and going forward, the town will continue to collaborate with Transport Canada. We certainly want to make sure that not just a drone that is flown for a special event, but any of the drones that are flown on behalf of the town are flown in a safe and responsible manner. And furthermore, if in the future, if there is more public advertised events where an SFOC is required, then I will assist that department in ensuring that we do apply to Transport Canada to obtain all the proper certificates in advance of the events so that we ensure that we are following the regulations as they're designed. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much, Chief. Anything to add, Andrew?
The only comment that I would add is in the current lease, there is an obligation on the part of Skydive to ensure that landing areas are clear and safe. They were notified that the drone would be in the air. It's irrelevant whether it was 5 months in advance or 30 minutes in advance. They were aware, they acknowledged that publicly in the Toronto Sun. There is an obligation on the part of Skydive to ensure that that area is clear and safe. If there were any concerns, they should have stopped and not flown and not jumped. That is clear in the lease. That also applies to sporting events. If there's a baseball tournament going on, irrespective if your lease says you're entitled to land there, there is an obligation to land safely and avoid these types of situations. So I would just like to add that. And again, I'm happy to get into more specifics about any issues in the report, should council wish me to do so.
All right, thank you very much. I'm now going to go back to Councillor DeLeo, who pulled this, and I understand, pardon me, Councillor Timms also pulled this, so I'll come to Councillor Timms next. Councillor DeLeo?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I've given this a lot of thought. So as a business owner with over 32 years of experience in lease agreements, I cannot in good faith support the termination of Skydive Wasaga's lease. The lease indicates an option to renew for 2 years. The business has operated at Klondike Park for a decade without incident, demonstrating professionalism and a strong safety record. Skydive contributes meaningfully to Wasaga Beach's tourism economy, offering a unique attraction that aligns with the town's interests. I believe the town and Skydive can collaborate effectively on any future events at Klondike Park during the remaining 2 years of the lease. For these reasons, I am not in favor of canceling the renewal of this agreement. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Timms?
Thank you, Your Worship. I want to begin by acknowledging the thoroughness of this report and the clear emphasis on public safety that continued in these conversations as well. That said, I do have a specific question for clarity and transparency. Given that the lease is set to expire at the end of 2025, I believe it's fair to ask, what does the standard process typically look like when the town approaches its end date? Was there any communication or discussion initiated by the town or Skydive Wasaga regarding the lease renewal prior to October 9th? Finally, I want to emphasize that my comments are not about personalities or political dynamics. This is about ensuring we apply clear, transparent standards on how leases on town-owned property are managed, particularly when there are risk and safety precautions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Before I go to anyone else for questions or comments, I'm going to go back to the CAO with respect to both councillors' comments here. Mr. CAO?
Yeah, thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'll start with Councillor Timms' question. In terms of renewal, the CAO has been delegated authority on renewals of leases. As per the terms of their lease, there is no requirement to provide notice. I felt as a courtesy to a business owner, it's appropriate to provide notice that there is an intention not to renew. That would give the business owner an opportunity to find another suitable location for them to conduct their business. But to be very clear, we did consult with legal counsel. There is no requirement to provide notice, and there was no requirement on either side. So the municipality could simply have allowed the lease to run out December 31st. The option to renew is a mutual option. To Councillor DeLeo's perspective, it is not one-sided, so just because Skydive wishes to renew, the municipality has to agree to allow that to renew. For the issues that are contained in the report, public safety, compensation. I didn't talk about compensation publicly, but $3,000 to rent such a large area per year, I believe, is inappropriate. When Skydive was initially getting set up, they were looking to land on the beach. The provincial government said hard no. They were not willing to entertain the risk that came with Skydive landings on public property on the beachfront. The town, myself, worked with Skydive to help them get established. We were approaching it as an incubator business opportunity. Favorable lease terms were established in 2016. An opportunity to prove themselves at the sports park was provided. The intention was never for them to be 10 years later still operating at the sports park. The intention was to go back to the province and see if there was an opportunity to do beach landings, which is what they wanted to do in the first place. We recognized that there were inherent conflicts of them operating at the sports park in 2016, but those have exacerbated. So in good conscience, I cannot recommend to council that we continue to allow that to occur at the sports park. And given the information on the risk, the liability that comes with this activity, it's just not something that I would feel comfortable recommending to this council. So I strongly urge council to consider not renewing the lease with Skydive.
All right, thank you very much. Councillor Timms, supplemental?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for that. But I'm still wondering, would it be important as a leaseholder to start these conversations before a month out, or were they initiated by Skydive Wasaga?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, they were not. So the first notice that was provided to the municipality of intention to renew was after I provided notice that we would not be renewing.
All right, Councillor DeLeo.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I keep on hearing $3,000 to lease. You can't fault him for that, or Skydive. As a business owner, you're going to take the best deal that you can get. The town offered it to him at that. It's not like he came and said, this is what I want, and that's to my understanding from reading all this. So that's one. Second.
Sorry, Councillor, I think it's important to make a clarification here. I don't think anyone is saying we shouldn't renew because it's only $3,000. I think what we're saying is the fact that it is only $3,000, even if we were to renew, that would be renegotiated to a much higher level.
Oh, no, of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, any renewal, it's always, absolutely, but you did bring up the $3,000. So to renew, and an option to renew, how much time does the person need to give you? Like if his lease expired December 31st, what's the deadline for him to tell the town, I want to renew for 2 more years?
Through Mr. Mayor, the original 2016 lease had a timeline. I believe it was 3 months in advance. The renewed lease in 2021 does not provide a time commitment.
Okay, so therefore, he doesn't have to give you 3 months in advance. It's in his lease. He doesn't have to do that. I'm going by what's in leases. I'm going by what's...
So that is correct. He's provided his notice that he intends or would like to renew. I have provided notice, as per my delegated authority, that we do not intend to renew. So we are treating this as an appeal of my decision. That's why it's in front of council today. So this is council's decision now. I'm simply providing the facts around this matter. My recommendation would be to stick with the decision that was made. With respect to $3,000, you are correct. Skydive, Mr. Farkas, negotiated very favorable terms in 2021. I don't fault them for that. What I am conveying to council is those terms are not in the best interest of this municipality, not only financially, but the risk that comes with that. The municipality is exposed to significant risk. That means if something happens, our taxpayers will be on the hook for a significant payout. And I recognize that Skydive has a great safety rating. Fantastic. Things happen. It's a business that is subject to human error. Things can happen.
Councillor, go ahead.
So I'm curious, if it was such a safety issue, when he renewed in 2021, and then you came in to be CAO, could you not have revoked his lease due to safety conditions? Because it was not. You could have, but you didn't.
Through Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely correct. Had I had the benefit of talking with the town's insurer and learning what I've recently learned, I absolutely would have come to council and recommended that his lease be revoked immediately. I think that's the prudent thing to do.
I think it's also clear to clarify again, it doesn't say anywhere in the lease that the leasee or the leaseor has to give notice. It's simply silent on it. So it doesn't say they don't have to give notice, and nor does it say that it automatically renews if they don't give notice. It's simply silent. And so the obligation then is on both parties to either give notice to one or the other should they intend to do. I would suspect that if someone was going to be renewing their lease, that they would give ample notice in most cases. I hold leases. My leaseholders give me ample notice on a regular basis. My leases have, as most leases do, a time frame in which they need to give notice. But if it's not and it's silent like this, then that notice can be given whenever or not at all. The fact here, I think, for clarification, is that notice was given that it wouldn't be, and after that it was given that they intend to. And that's why we're here today for council to consider this. All right. Back to Councillor Timms, and then I'm going to start moving around the table here if there's other questions. Councillor Timms?
Thank you, Your Worship. In the past, I had an issue in my former career being dropped by an insurance carrier in my professional work because of events. So I kind of get the problem with insurance. My question is, with the new pool that we're part of, would there be additional cost to continue that lease with Skydive Wasaga Beach based on the risk factor that we're hearing?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we actually asked that question. What's the premium that we're paying for Skydive? It would require quite a bit of work to isolate that specific cost. So the insurer was not able to share that with us on our call. The bigger issue is now that we're in a pool, we are exposing every other municipality in our pool to this risk. So Bradford, West Gwillimbury, Clearview, Collingwood, Springwater, Tiny, should something happen, they're going to have to help us with this situation. So it's in the best interest of the municipality. Again, I want to be clear, there's risk in everything we do. You get out of bed in the morning, there's risk. But when we know something can carry such an extreme risk, you need to think carefully about it. All these facts were not on the table back in 2016. They are today, and my strong recommendation is that we give this some good consideration.
All right, next we have Councillor Belanger.
Yes, through the chair, I have a number of points and would like some clarification, but in the report, it wasn't mentioned, but historically, I know even now we're actively looking for funding and grants for a pickleball hub in the area of Klondike Park. I don't know where that would be located, but it is certainly my understanding as our intention at some point is, if we were to receive funding, is to do that. I also recall, I believe it was about 3 years ago, that we had a resident that was either raising or going to pay for a portion for a bicycle racing track in the area of Klondike Park, which would also be a use for a number of our residents. That didn't go through at the time. I don't know where it sits today. As far as notice, I do want to point out is the nature of the business is if a lease wasn't renewed, they have ample time before the next season to try to find a relocation. So I think that's probably something to take into account. The lease amount has been a discussion on previous council and council, because there's a number of leases in the sports park where the areas are quite expansive and the leases are very modest. I seem to have, I've seen something that a resident had put out indicating that as a resident, they felt the amount that we were collecting for the lease was very small compared to what the actual market value is worth. Also on previous councils, I can't recall exactly what happened, but I believe that in the previous council that they actually had to get Skydive Wasaga to remove their trailer in the winter months. They had been leaving it, and again, it was related to liability and related to the amount of the lease and the time frame. I think everyone's aware that I've been on council for about 10 years, and I think in the last 5 years, every year escalating insurance costs have been on our budget, as that it wasn't the 2 or 3% increases. The liability and the awareness of anything to keep insurance costs lower has certainly been a point of discussion for many years. But the clarification I would really like is, when I saw the original post from Skydive Wasaga related to the safety concern in their mind, I was really set back by the tone. And I just want to know, was there any communication to the town ahead of that public notification of their concern? Did they approach the town before that and suggest that, you know, we needed to better coordinate in the future or anything like that? Or is that the first communication we were aware of?
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the only communication I am aware of is some back and forth that occurred with our staff member who was flying the drone, who was trying to provide notice to Skydive. There was emails, a couple emails that went back and forth, and then I received an email on the following Monday advising that Skydive was going to issue a complaint against the municipality. Prior to that, I had zero correspondence from Skydive about any matters. Even the incidents that happened with the baseball tournament, I would have expected there should have been some follow-up providing, you know, we've got some safety concerns, et cetera. Nothing came. Your earlier comments as well, I wanted to comment on that. In my opinion, the taxpayer of Wasaga Beach is currently subsidizing Skydive Wasaga with a very beneficial lease rate below market value, as well as being exposed to extreme liability. Those are not a good combination. If the town is receiving appropriate compensation, then maybe you think more about the risk that you're being exposed to. But when you're not actually receiving market value in terms of rent, and then you're also being exposed to extreme liability, that's not a good combination, in my opinion. I also, if council is, Mr. Mayor, are you okay if I share some of the details around what happened with the rodeo? Absolutely. Yeah, I was very troubled. Beyond the drone incident, there was a public statement, a press release that went out from our tenant about their landlord, explaining that we were engaged in unsafe practices. Again, we followed up, you've heard from the chief around that. I was quite shocked to learn that despite the fact that we had provided notice to Skydive that the mayor's rodeo would be occurring in the primary landing zone, they are requested to vacate as per the lease, proper notice was given, that Skydive, without the permission of the municipality, took it upon themselves to reach out to the rodeo operator to request, and actually almost force their way in, to trying to have a landing in the middle of the rodeo. That, in my opinion, was irresponsible. and expose not only the rodeo operator, but the municipality to unnecessary risk and liability. Additionally, our team, Jerry, our events team, worked very hard to raise sponsorship that went to the lovely charities that you saw earlier today, the hospice, the hospital foundation. Skydive, in exchange for a couple of free flights, was the center of the attraction on Saturday, where they requested that the rodeo operator promote their business. They didn't give a nickel to charity. That is not fair to all of the people that sponsored that charity event, for them to be given free advertising. I understand that when they first approached the operator, they said, we control this land, we have a lease, you can't be out here without our approval, and that's why we want these things. That is not true. We have the ability to provide, subject to providing notice, to have them move out of the way. So what they did, in my opinion, was very irresponsible. And as a business who conducts that way, again, all of these factors in play, I cannot recommend that we continue doing business with this company.
Thank you, Andrew. Councillor Belanger?
Well, just in follow-up, it's just from a personal note, knowing that we had a business with a very favorable lease, and the tone of the post that went out to all of the public without consulting with the town, without saying, you know, had they already consulted and the town is saying, no, safety isn't our concern, that's not the case. I can only believe personally that there may have been other motives involved. And I won't speak to that, but I would say the tone of that post and to do that without thorough consultation first with the town was very inappropriate.
I would, if I could, I agree with that. I don't know what motivations are in play here. Frankly, I don't care. My job is to look at the facts and advise council based on professional concerns. I do find it extremely odd that a tenant would be putting out a public press release against their landlord. That's a very unusual thing to occur. I've never seen it before. So again, that is a very odd situation. The motivation behind that, I won't venture to guess.
And I think that I want to stay away from this area where we're at because, again, to your point, Andrew, don't know, don't care. Nothing political about this. If anything, when someone asks, do you think this is political, you kind of make it political. But there's nothing political about this. This is about what is in the best interest of the ratepayers of Wasaga Beach. And it's unfortunate that it's happening at this particular time. But I'm going to go to the rest of the council for questions. And so next we have Councillor Ego.
Thank you, through your worship. Andrew, question. If they should move to a neighboring municipality, these are all ifs right now, would they still be able to retain the name Skydive Wasaga, do you believe?
Absolutely. And through you, Mr. Mayor. Skydive Wasaga Beach Incorporated is their business. They've incorporated it. They can take that wherever they want. So yeah, they have liberty. If they choose to open up in Clearview, Stainer, Tiny, they can take that name with them for sure.
Okay, thanks. As a follow-up. So I was fortunate enough to jump twice with Skydive and loved it. It's a great experience. Twice.
Twice, Councillor.
I had to get it right.
Glad you did.
I am too. Actually, I got it right the first time. It was fabulous. I believe the big draw to jumping in this area is jumping out of a plane over the bay. And you've got lots of space there. So just surmising, no, and then what does happen on the day you go to jump, you drive out to Klondike, and then you get in a van, which is fine, a skydive van, and you're transported out to Edenvale to get on the plane. So maybe it would make sense that you just go to Edenvale and get in the plane from there and go do the jump and then back somewhere around Edenville. I do not know. I haven't checked whether you can, land a skydiver close to an airport or not. But to me, logistically, that just makes a lot of sense. And, yeah, that's it.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Now, the next is Deputy Mayor Snell. Sorry, Andrew, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, I was just going to mention, I agree with the councillor. The issue is not the takeoff. The issue is the landing. The landing is where the exposure to liability usually occurs. So whoever accepts that land, whether it's Edenville Airport, Wasaga Beach, or one of our neighbors, that's something for them to consider and weigh all the implications of accepting that landing, because that's the risky part of the skydiving experience.
So just as a follow, and basically the business could still be kept with the same name, fly over the bay and land close by. Thanks.
All right, Deputy Mayor Snell.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I have a couple of points. In regards to liability, I remember 20 plus years ago when I was a youth worker, I had to discontinue horseback riding because of liability. Our insurance provider would not cover it anymore. That was horseback riding, so this is, it's impressive that we've been able to support this business as long as we have under that insurance provision. I've also jumped twice with Skydive Wasaga, and they're a great professional organization. Safety is number one to them. I felt very safe in jumping with them. So this isn't personal whatsoever. This is all just business. And I think it's important to point out for clarification that in 2021, when the lease was renewed and those safety provisions were omitted, that was not this council and that was not our CAO. That we were not here at that time. So that makes me a little bit concerned about other leases. We've obviously done some new leases in our Twin Pad Arena and Library, but I would encourage, you probably already have, look at all other leases that were done prior to our arrival and make sure that those safety pieces are in place. The behavior in regards to the rodeo is very concerning and very disrespectful to this council, to our staff, to our event staff. That was our event. That wasn't, for them to approach a third-party vendor that we've contracted to try to negotiate their own offerings is shocking, frankly. What is concerning as well is around those security pieces. That's very concerning for me. And unless that clause is added back into the lease, I would be in favor of severing immediately. To not have the protection for the taxpayers and our fellow municipalities that are in the pool is irresponsible of us, now that we know this information, in my opinion. And our obligation as council is to our taxpayers. We support small business, of course. We want small business to survive. We never want to get in the way of any business. But our obligation is not to their sustainability or their long-term success. It is to the taxpayers. And that is the hat that I'm wearing today in making my decision. And I support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Snell. Okay, we're now going back to Councillor DeLeo. Councillor?
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. Andrew, I'm curious, this insurance pool, you stated publicly that all municipalities that are in it are liable if something were to happen with Skydive, correct?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's a pool. Not all of Simcoe County municipalities are in it, but of the ones that are, yes, we share risk, yes.
So if Skydive does relocate and it's part of the insurance pool, wouldn't we still be liable if something happens in another town?
So through Mr. Mayor, if Skydive relocates and jumps off private land, no, we have no involvement with them. If they went to an adjacent municipality and that municipality, if they are in our pool, then that could be a scenario where risk would be shared. But what I am seeing, what our insurance provider has recommended is that municipalities are a little afraid of skydiving businesses. So again, it would be up to Skydive to determine a location that they could land. The possibility, I guess, could be there that an adjacent municipality would give them a landing site. I'm simply recommending that in the best interest of our community that we should not be doing that any further on municipal land.
So, a couple other things. In the last 10 years, has Skydive filed a claim with insurance? Any claims at all?
I don't believe so, but that, to my earlier comment, skydiving incidents are infrequent. When they occur, they're big. So yes, so they have a good safety record. I'm not taking that away from them at all. They've run a good business, but the risk is always there. God forbid something happens, we are exposed.
So the last point I want to make, I was told by the Legion that Skydive parachuted an Elvis. The Legion was holding an Elvis event the same day as the rodeo. So Skydive, I was told, parachuted down with an Elvis. So was he parachuting down for the Legion, or is it that he used the rodeo? Because from what I read, he was there for the Legion, and the Legion also pays rent.
So through Mr. Mayor, I am not aware of who he was affiliated or who Skydive was affiliated that day. All I can speak to is they were not affiliated with the municipality in terms of any events that were going on pertaining to the rodeo. So if Skydive took it upon themselves to jump out of a plane and land dressed as Elvis, that certainly had nothing to do with the municipality.
All right, other questions or comments on this matter? Right, seeing none, I do have a few comments. First of all, I want to put some clarity around the day of the rodeo. First, it's extremely disappointing that we held, staff worked so hard. We hired a world-class rodeo tour, Mr. Ross Miller and the Ram Rodeo, and that we had such an amazing, wonderful, enjoyable event by thousands of people. Raised $55,000 for our two charities, which is just unbelievable and exceptional. And now we have this cloud over it because of this situation. So I want to clarify a couple of issues, because I was able to have a conversation with Mr. Ross Miller, who is the owner of Ram Rodeo, on the Saturday evening, because I had had a couple people approach me. The fact that, Skydive was not a title sponsor to this event, yet they were being mentioned during the event on the Saturday as much or more than people whose signs were on the fence and were paying significant dollars to be sponsors of the event. So I asked Mr. Miller on the Saturday evening to explain to me how this came to be. Was he a sponsor to the Ram Rodeo? And the reply, and don't take my word for this, you can ask Mr. Miller and his second in command, because I spoke with both of them. What happened on Friday evening when the Ram Rodeo showed up to start setting up and preparing for Saturday, their words is a purple Tesla pulled into the field where they were setting up. A fella got out and indicated to them that he was going to be landing some of their cowboys during the rodeo, or at some point during the rodeo, and they were going to land on the chute where the bulls and horses and whatnot come out. And I'm paraphrasing here, but Mr. Miller indicated that no, that wouldn't be happening. He had, hundreds of thousands of dollars in animals in there that are trained, and their well-being is his number one concern, and that they don't know what a parachute is, and he doesn't want any part of that. They continued then to persist, and he said, and again I'm paraphrasing, but he said, the town of Wasaga Beach has hired me to put on this event, and that's what I'm here to do. If you want to do something with skydiving, you need to speak with the town of Wasaga Beach. He was told by the individual, and he doesn't know the individual's name, except they drove a purple Tesla, that they owned the lease or had the lease on this property, and it was entirely up to them where they would land and what they would do. It then ended up the next day that two cowboys were offered or 3 people in total, 2 cowboys and one of their announcers, were offered a free skydive. And 2 cowboys did that skydive. They landed outside of the ring, if you will, of the rodeo. And my understanding is that the 3rd person, the announcer, never ever got to do a dive. But for that, she was doing these announcements. Sunday, there were no announcements about skydive because Mr. Miller, first of all, apologized and indicated that it would be corrected and it wouldn't be happening. It's really disappointing for me that someone would push their way in after the municipality has given notice that you're not to land in this area, to show up on a Friday evening unannounced to either the town and or the operator, to indicate that this is what they're going to be doing, to be then reaching out to the cowboys, the cowgirls, whomever, and offering them these jumps within that vicinity. And for that, have their name mentioned when they contributed absolutely zero to either one of these amazing charities. And so I think it's important for council to hear and understand that. And again, I say, do not take my word for this. More than welcome to reach out to Mr. Ross Miller, who is the principal of the Ram Rodeo. And I want to say that this is not any shade of gray against the Ram Rodeo or Mr. Miller. I cannot praise Mr. Miller and the Ram Rodeo enough, and I'm sure staff will back me up on this. These folks are the most professional, well-organized, amazing group of individuals who care not only about the community they're working with, but was very clear to me how deeply they care about their animals and how well they maintain and look after them and their well-being, and how much they care for the folks who are coming out and paying the dollars to come and see the Ram Rodeo. And so to Mr. Miller and his team, good on you. Kudos to you for being such an excellent partner, if you will. And I look forward to the municipality working with them in future for more great events. So it's important to put that out there. You know, based on what I'm hearing here today from staff, I have some concerns. But before I speak any further, I just want to go to our chief, and I don't want to put you on the spot, Chief, but can you explain for the public's information and for councils what a NOTAM is and what it exactly means? Because I think there's some misleading information out there that's saying that NOTAM is basically in some way, shape, or form a restricted area, and that perhaps we should have had permission by Skydive in order to land, to put our drone up, and that they would have had to approve that, so on and so forth. So, Chief, would you mind just touching on that?
Sure, through you, Your Worship. So a NOTAM is a notice to all airmen, and it is an advisory to anybody who uses airspace, in this case, that a specific activity was occurring. So if you look at the NOTAM that was in place by Skydive Canada, it does indicate a date span and a time of day that skydiving could occur. And if I am not mistaken, I believe it was between noon and 1 a.m., somewhere in there. It's a prolonged period of time each day, 7 days a week. It identifies the sports park as the area of landing site, and then it provides a large buffer zone, which of course, if you're skydiving, winds get out of control, they may not be able to land exactly where they would like to. So it's a general advisory that anywhere within the area this activity could be taking place. It does not restrict the airspace, meaning that airspace is permitted to be used by all pilots, and drones are considered aircraft, so they must abide by the rules. What is expected by Transport Canada is collaboration. So all pilots, whether it is a drone operator or it's an aircraft in the sky, is expected to be aware of the hazards that could occur, to make reasonable efforts to avoid any sort of conflict, and collaborate with each other to the best of their ability to ensure that a safety issue doesn't become a problem.
Thank you, Chief. And so important to note that NOTAM means notice to airmen. And it is not restricted airspace, and that it is simply in order to make sure that people flying, including drone operators, are coordinating to ensure that safety is paramount. And as I understand it, our drone pilot that day attempted on 4 occasions to contact the Edenville Aerodrome, to which there was no response. and on, I think, 3 occasions to contact Skydive, and then by phone, and then through an email connection was made. And I think, again, and I'm paraphrasing, but I think the question was asked, they were made aware that we would be flying a drone in order to record the event. And I think the response was something along the lines of, yes, no worries, come and see us to coordinate. I would think that if Skydive had any major concerns about safety, the answer wouldn't have been, yes, come and see us to coordinate. It would have been, absolutely not, do not fly your drone, please. That was not the case. And I suspect it wasn't the case because Skydive understands that this is about coordination. And the fact that they were made aware, and I think that at some point in the media, it was indicated that somewhere around 11:30 a.m. is when Skydive received the information that we would be flying drones, and they had to deviate their flight for that at the last minute, something to that effect. It is my understanding, I'm going to look to staff to confirm this, that we never flew a drone that day until after 1 o'clock. Is that correct, Jerry?
That's 100% accurate, Your Worship.
So they were notified at 11:35 in the morning or thereabouts. They acknowledged that they were notified in that area. They had to make deviations to their flight or jumping, whatever. And we never put a drone in the air until after 1 o'clock. And I don't know if they were diving at that time. But what's important to note here is this is about collaboration. It's about notification. Skydive has put a NOTAM in place, if you will, over a very broad area in Wasaga Beach and Clearview, I believe, that goes from sometime around noon until 0300. 0300 is 3 o'clock in the morning. Why you need a NOTAM skydiving till 3 a.m. is beyond me. I don't think the bars are closing and people are jumping out of airplanes. At least I would hope not. So, why isn't that more reasonable, except to, have somewhat control, even though that does not give you that ability. At no time does it restrict a pilot's ability to fly. It's not a restricted area at any time, and it doesn't restrict a pilot's ability to fly. What it does say is, if you're going to be flying, notify people you're going to be flying, and make sure that you're doing so safely and are able to avoid conflict. Our pilot, and I look to staff to correct me if I'm wrong, when she put the drone up on 3 different occasions for 10 minutes roughly each, at all times she was basically standing in the landing zone that was permitted that day by the town to skydive within the confines of the lease to do so. She made sure that she did all of the requirements beforehand to ensure safe flight. She inspected her drone, she inspected the space around her, she made sure she wasn't flying close to people, that she was at a reasonable level, she made sure that she had vision line of sight on her drone at all times, and she had situational awareness to the point where she even was aware that the pickup car, I think they call it, from Skydive was not in the area, and that's always a really good indicator that divers will be coming in because they're there waiting to pick them up and take them back to Edenville. No pickup car was anywhere close, and she had perfect line of sight within the landing zone, so she would have seen at any given time if there were skydivers coming in, and she would have dropped her drone to the ground immediately. That is what's required, I understand, by Transport Canada. I think our drone pilot did an amazing job. Now, there was an error made in not filing the SFOC, and we admit that. We understand that. But by not filing that FAOC, never put anyone in danger at harm at any given time. And Chief, I understand you have had conversations, as has the CAO, with Transport Canada on this. We acknowledge the error. We have already put in place, are in the process of putting in place before we fly again, all of the criteria to make sure that that happens. We are working on not creating, because we already have all of the policies and procedures in place, but improving them to ensure that there is never this type of error again. But at any given time, and Chief, you're in charge of the safety of this community, that you take this very seriously. Do you feel at any time that anyone's life was in danger, or anyone was in harm's way, or there was safety was an issue at any time?
Thank you, Your Worship. Based on the information I gathered during the after-action review, no, I don't believe anybody was put in harm's way as a result of the drone flying at the Mayor's Rodeo.
And at any time, has Transport Canada indicated to any of our staff that they feel that anyone was put in harm's way or there was any danger of life during this situation?
Not that I'm aware of, Your Worship, aside from speaking to us about the requirement to apply for the SFOC, because it's a publicly advertised event, which we've acknowledged, and we will certainly be doing so in the future.
And then the last question is, my understanding is if you apply for an SFOC on 3 or more occasions, you can then apply to have one in place annually. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Worship. So what we will be working towards is a standing SFOC for the municipality to operate under. And that is because we do have multiple drones that can be used by multiple different departments. And how you receive that standing FOC is through a demonstration of ongoing commitment to safety and proper, processes in place. So once we've applied a number of times, our hope is to receive that standing FOC. So we are required to request permission each and every time we fly in an event. And those are annual, so we would be required to annually review all of our processes and apply for the SFOC.
Which I am 100% confident our chief, who will be leading this process, I understand, will ensure is complete and done. So, this drone in question, my understanding, was a 249-gram drone. This is less than 8 ounces in weight. The blades on this thing are paper thin. The slightest collision, it drops to the ground. There are things out there that I've seen where I'm so happy that this didn't slice through my cords on my parachute. This is just grandstanding. And for what purpose? The town of Wasaga Beach acknowledges there was a small error in not filing the SFOC. And I'm sure people who fly would say, you may think it's a small error, but to us it's a large error. And I accept that. And the municipality accepts full responsibility of our error, and we assure it won't happen again. We talk about safety and how important it is to the town of Wasaga Beach and how important it is to skydive, and they've got a great safety record. But I would question, with all of these people in this area, with bulls and bronco horses and people everywhere, and during baseball tournaments, when people are playing ball on fields, would someone determine it is safe to land in the middle of that field? I mean, I've seen these skydive people come in. My wife's done it. She's a licensed skydiver now. Loves it. Don't know why, but she does. They come in, or have the ability to come in, at quite a speed. Average person being, my apologies, ladies, but average person being 150 pounds times 2, 300 pounds or more, perhaps, at a high speed. Why on earth would you decide that it is okay to land in the middle of a ball game, to the point where ball games have to be halted by the umpires to say, just a minute, we got to let the skydivers collect their chute and their things and go away? Why would you think it's safe to land with a tandem diver with you in the middle of a bull ring or a rodeo ring where there's bronking bulls and horses close by? They have no idea what a parachute is. How is that safe? So if safety is truly the concern, I can question that based on some of the actions. And the other thing I would say is, notification was given. I think by the fact that the municipality made Skydive Wasaga aware that we had a drone in the air, the responsibility for safety is a two-way street now. It's the responsibility of our drone operator to ensure that she is able to see if a parachute or another aircraft is in the area and bring the drone down or move it to a safe location. But it's also the responsibility in this case of Skydive to determine whether or not they allow people to leave the airplane, because it's also my understanding that where the critical part of this notice is when the people leave the airplane till they land on the ground. And if you have fear or concern for your customer and your staff safety, why would you let them leave the airplane? Why would you let them jump and then say, oh my gosh, they could have cut our cords. Someone could have been killed. It's theatrics. It's ridiculous. And that is why I question that, and that is why I believe that council really seriously needs to reconsider or consider not only what's before us, but whether or not we continue to move forward even for the rest of this year. Now, I believe staff will have to get some opinion on that and look at what those consequences may be, but this is a little over the top for me, quite frankly. Listen, I can tell you that usually when tenants have issues with landlords or vice versa, the first thing they do is call each other up and say, let's sit down and have a conversation. How do we fix this and how do we work together? They don't create this massive, blown out of proportion theatrics and then ask, do you think this is political? Those are my comments. If there's no other comments from members of council or staff, we do have a recommended motion then. And the recommended motion is that the report titled Skydive Wasaga Beach, Inc. Lease Agreement, Klondike Sports Park to the council meeting October 23rd, 2025 be received, and that council refuse the renewal request from Skydive Wasaga Beach, Inc. to lease the Wasaga Beach Sports Park located at 1888 Klondike Park Road. Based on the conversation and the comments, is there anything to be added or changed on this by the staff wishes or members of council? Deputy Mayor Snell?
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to request an amendment to the motion, or an addition rather, that unless those safety conditions in terms of the previous lease can be added to this lease at this time, then we cease operations immediately.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm going to let the clerk have a minute to word that. So I just want to be clear, Andrew. Right now, the principal of Skydive has no responsibility here at this point based on the lease as it's written. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, yes, you're correct, Mr. Mayor. If you look at the attachment, which is the lease agreement, you will notice that the previous council approved one of the actual statements in there is that the covenanter clause be removed from the lease. That's actually in the lease document. So my recommendation, should council look to amend this, would be subject to the covenanter clause and indemnification clauses being added, then all operations should cease immediately.
While the clerk's working on that, the deputy mayor had mentioned that, and so had you, Andrew, that you were the staff member who really pushed to try and get this business up and going and help them out. And I can tell you, I was the mayor at the time, and I faced some significant heat over a couple of business ventures in trying to help. It's the reason we created the Main Street Market, was to incubate businesses in hopes that they would be successful and then want to open a larger business or another location within town. We took heat over that, but it was the right thing to do. And it's why the lease in this case was what it was back then, was to try and get this up and going. And I can tell you that I even used my own personal boat because they weren't allowed to land on provincial land. They wanted to land in the water And on one occasion, I used my personal boat to help them and pluck their people from the water when they landed in the water, bring them back to shore, and would go out and then wait for the next one to come in. They had a raft in the water with a bullseye on it that they would try to land on, and even if they did, of course, they'd got to get in the water and get back. So this is nothing but the best interest of this municipality. I think back in the day that lease was suitable. I can tell you I would never have agreed to it after that. It was based to get the business up and running, get it going, hoping it would be successful, and they have been successful. They indicate that themselves over and over, and that is great. But with success comes, cost. And it is what it is, and I do not fault Skydive Wasaga. As Councillor DeLeo has pointed out, they negotiated a good lease in their favor, and good on them for that. I say the same thing about developers and everybody else. Don't blame them. They negotiated. We could have pushed back. We didn't. And we agreed to that lease. But knowing what we know today, I think it's a different situation. Madam Clerk, do you have that reworded?
Thank you, Your Worship. In light of the Deputy Mayor's comments, just because that would have to be agreed upon by both parties first, so what we would look to do would be to, the first two clauses included, and that further that the item be referred back, this item be referred back to staff to amend the current lease agreement to include amended terms, as noted by the CAO, and to be signed by both the tenant and the town, and to be brought forward to a future meeting of council for consideration, pending.
I don't think we need any consideration. I think if council, if we say that we agree to the first two items on this motion, and then add a third that it is to include the town and Skydive agreeing to reinsert that indemnification and covenantor, or if not, to terminate the lease immediately. If council agrees to that today, it's then upon staff to go and make that happen. If they can't, then it's terminated, and if they can, I don't think they need to come back to us for permission. We're granting that through this motion today. Councillor White, go ahead.
Your Worship, just to make things a little simpler for procedure, it's to my understanding that the NOTAM that Skydive used for the season expired on October 18th. I would largely suspect that that's the end of their operations for the season. I don't think we need to do this. I think we would just be making work for nothing.
I guess my question is, do they have to have a NOTAM in order to dive? They do? We're certain? Okay, all right. Well, if that's the case, and that's expired, if they renew that, Chief, can you add anything to this for us?
I don't want to speak on their behalf, obviously, but there is an expiration on the current NOTAM, and I believe it would be normal to renew it when it comes due. I don't know whether their plan would be to renew at that time or not, but you'd have to put another one in place.
So I would say, however, that whether or not they're diving or not, they have the rights to this land. And so if there's an issue there, whether they're diving or not, if they're just out there doing whatever, and something should happen, the fact that there's not a covenantor and there's no indemnification to the town, we're still at risk until December 31st, correct, Andrew?
No, I believe so. So my recommendation would be to proceed with that, and we can provide notice to Skydive that that's the decision of council, irrespective of whether or not they have any jumps planned. I think that would be prudent to protect the municipality's interests.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Madam Clerk?
And I'll just look to the CEO to verify me at the end here, but, and further that the current lease between the town of Wasaga Beach and Skydive Wasaga Inc. for the lands located at 1888 Klondike Park Road be amended to include the terms identified by the CAO, and then pending that they're not signed, that the lease be terminated.
So I think it's simply, we would like covenantor and an indemnification clause added to cover the municipality between today and December 31st, and failure to do so would result in a request to cease operations immediately.
And I'm assuming right after this meeting you'll be in contact with them to make sure they're aware?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So, Madam Clerk, I'm going to ask you to read the whole motion again, including your change.
Okay. That the report titled Skydive Wasaga Beach Inc. Lease Agreement Klondike Sports Park to the council meeting of October 23rd, 2025 be received, and that council refuse the renewal request from Skydive Wasaga Beach Inc. to lease the Wasaga Sports Park located at 1888 Klondike Park Road, and further that the current lease be amended to add a covenanter or an indemnification between today and December 31st, 2025, with failure to do so resulting in termination of the lease immediately.
Covenanter and indemnification.
Covenanter and indemnification clauses.
All right, thank you very much, Madam Clerk. You're comfortable with that, Andrew? All right, Council, you've heard the question. Could I have a mover and a seconder for this, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Snell, seconded by Councillor Belanger. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Worship. Councillor Blanchet?
In favor.
Councillor DeLeo?
Opposed.
Councillor Eagle? In favor. Councillor Timms?
In favor.
Councillor White?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Snell?
In favor.
Mayor Smith?
In favor.
That motion passes.
Thank you very much. Chris is going to get you a new battery there, Councillor. All right. We're now moving on to the next item, which is the Regional Municipality of Halton letter dated October 3rd, 2025, public safety requirements to protect our communities. This was pulled by myself and Councillor DeLeo, but I'll look to Councillor DeLeo to go first. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to read the motion first, and then hopefully I'll get a seconder. Whereas the community safety is a top priority for all levels of government, and whereas Council of the Town of Wasaga Beach supports the motion passed by the Regional Municipality of Halton enclosed herewith, and therefore be it resolved that the Town of Wasaga Beach, 1, supports Halton Region's motion and the steps already taken by the federal government, including Bill C-48. 2, urges the Government of Canada to move quickly on its promise to further strengthen bail and sentencing laws. 3, calls on the province of Ontario to invest more in the justice system, including better bail enforcement and monitoring, more resources for prosecutors and courts, more judges and detention facilities. 4, supports a coordinated national approach involving all levels of government to improve community safety and fix gaps in bail and sentencing. And be it further resolved that the Town of Wasaga Beach supports these future reforms, expanding reverse onus for repeat violent offenders, stronger mandatory bail conditions, example firearm bans, curfews, electronic monitoring, limits on multiple bail releases for serious violent offenders, better information sharing between police, prosecutors, and correctional services, making community and victim impact a key part of bail decisions. And further that the town supports reviewing time limits and rules in the criminal code that could lead to serious cases being thrown out, and that this motion be shared with federal and provincial government leaders and relevant ministers, local MPs and MPPs, police and justice associations, municipal associations like AMO and FCM, and Regional Municipality of Halton. Thank you.
Do you want to include all other municipalities within the province, Councillor?
Well, Halton already did that. So if we can do it, that would be.
We can absolutely do that. I say it because Halton has done it,
Yes.
as you say,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean everyone will see this, right? Unless we
Okay.
send it to them.
Absolutely then, yes, please. And then I have a comment as well.
I'm going to let you go ahead with your comments first, and then we'll come back to the motion.
Okay. So again, I would like to send a letter.
Sorry, let me just go back. Madam Clerk, this is a motion that she's now put on the floor. She's asked for a seconder. She's moved it. So I need a seconder, and we need to deal with this motion before we go back to the original, correct?
Correct, Your Worship.
All right, so Councillor DeLeo. Councillor DeLeo has put that motion on the floor. Do we have someone to second that? Councillor White? Okay. All right, we're going to speak to this motion that you
Yes.
put on the floor first.
Thank you.
But if you have comments to this motion that you put on the floor?
No, I'm going to speak to it.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I would like to send a letter of support to Halton Region to show our support for public safety requirements to protect our communities. This affects all communities across Canada. The federal government passed Bill C-48. It came into effect on January the 4th, 2024, introducing key reforms to the criminal code. The bill has received royal assent and is now law. What I liked about this law now is that the courts are required to consider an accused's violence history and state on the record their consideration of community safety. The federal government has committed to tabling additional legislation during the fall 2025 session of Parliament to further strengthen community safety, including reforms related to bail. We call on the Government of Canada to prioritize and expedite the introduction of its promised bail and sentencing reforms in the upcoming session of Parliament, which, by the way, is this coming Monday. On November 13, 2024, the Police Association of Ontario, the Ontario Provincial Police Association, and the Toronto Police Association, representing 35,000 police members in Ontario, called for urgent action to ensure violent and repeat offenders are not released pending trial. And similar calls have been echoed by the Canadian Association of Chiefs of Police and Canada's premiers. And I know for a fact that Premier Ford fully supports this 100%. It's bothersome to me that repeat violent offenders continue to be granted bail in some instances, placing victims, families, and first responders at risk, and public confidence in the justice system is undermined when such offenders are quickly returned to the community. This is why I support this letter 100%. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor DeLeo. I also pulled this item, but you have said it very well, so I don't think I have a whole lot more to say, with the, except for absolutely, the premiers of this country have really asked and pressured the federal government to get this moving along. And the fact that it has received royal assent and it is now law, it's surprising that it isn't moving along much faster. We have offenders on our streets that have been charged some 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 times. And many of them with, very violent crimes against other individuals. And the fact that they're on the street is absolutely ludicrous. And it's time that we all wake up and we say enough is enough, and we take back our streets. And I commend you, Councillor. Very well read, very well put. The motion, I think, speaks to just about everything, if not everything, and I would urge this council and any council who receives this in future to stand behind this 100%. We have got to get a message to the federal government that this needs to stop. All right, other questions or comments from members of council? All right, seeing none, we do have that motion on the floor. It's moved by Councillor DeLeo and seconded by Councillor White. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. We'll call for the vote. Councillor Boulanger?
In favor.
Councillor DeLeo?
In favor.
Councillor Ego?
In favor.
Councillor Timms?
In favor.
Councillor White?
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Snell? In favor. Mayor Smith?
In favor.
That carries unanimously.
All right, thank you very much. So based on that, we can scratch out the original motion, and we move on to, or do we, no, we're done with that. Yeah, thank you. So moving on to item number 8, which is recommendations arising from boards and committees. There are none. Item number 9 is council requested staff reports. Members of council, you've seen those reports. Any questions or comments on those? Seeing none, moving along then to item number 10, notices of motion, of which we have none today. And then to item number 11, which is bylaws, and we have a recommended motion that the bylaw 2025-51 and 2025-52 be received and be deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and finally passed. Could I have a mover and a seconder for these, please? Moved by Deputy Mayor Snell, seconded by Councillor Timms. All in favor? That carries unanimously. And item number 12 is adjournment. We'll adjourn this meeting at 12:34 p.m. This meeting is adjourned.